This is Radix Radio, where disease is overcome, abundant health awaits, and life is elevated from a pit of despair as we begin living victoriously from above down, inside out. Now, here's your host, Dr. Ryan Betts.
Good morning and welcome to Radix Radio. I am your host, Dr. Ryan Betts, and with my trusted colleague, Dr. Justin Stokes. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
Hey, man, we are just very excited to continue our conversation from last week as we discussed Food for Thought Part 1. So today we're going to roll into Food for Thought Part 2 and really want to dive a bit more into the Maker's Diet, the purposes behind it, some of the strategies, but also just revealing just how easy it is and how natural it is for our body to go by this diet and for it not to be a strenuous thing. So, Doc, I know you did a lot of reserch on it. And,
I did.
I just want to, just open it up and give us some good little nuggets of information.
So the big thing that, after, this was actually the first time that I've delved all the way into this book and into kind of the principles of it. And it was really amazing to me to see, the historical aspects of it and then also the biblical aspects of it. And really that, these, a lot of times when it comes to the Maker's Diet, it's thought of as these kind of arbitrary rules. I always thought of them as arbitrary rules, but when you really dig into it, it is really how to make our body run the most efficiently as possible. And it's figuring out that, there's so much conflicting information about what diet is or what diet would be best. And you've heard of them, the zones and the Atkins and all of that.
Yep.
Really, all we need to do is dial into what gives our body the most energy, what gives our body the most benefit, and basically boiling it down to a very simple concept of people knew way back what made them work efficiently. We've got years and years of this information, this wealth of information. It's just actually listening to it.
Yeah, and you mentioned a good point a second ago just about just how our body can naturally run on its own without a lot of added input or just a lot of stress on it too. And thinking about food and nutrition, I mean, the number one thing that I think of when I think of a new diet is, oh my gosh, I got to take some time to learn this and understand it and wrap my mind around it. And that's a daunting task in and of itself.
Yeah.
That could take weeks to just study it and get a game plan down. And if you're like me, I'm really OCD about stuff. So when I go into something, I want to go into it, with saddles ablazing but to have a strategy. So it's like, every meal has to be planned and everything. And almost to the effect that when I've, had classes at the office and have brought along a lot of patients in the community into these things that we've done over the years, before we did the Maker's Diet and we tried all these other ones, it was, I'll just tell you, like within the first couple classes, I felt like I lost half the group because I could just see their eyes glazing over and I could see just like this overwhelming shock come upon them that I'm thinking like, man, I can't do this. This is too much. I need something simple. And so when I went back and kind of researched again and came across the Maker's Diet, which I learned about years ago, when I came back to it, I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is the answer that I've been waiting for. And, last year we did a class, or we did a 40-day health journey challenge, like a transformation challenge, the start of the year, which we'll be doing the same thing again this year at Radix Chiropractic. But the thing is when I started that group and we started doing the Maker's Diet, it flowed perfectly. And it's like you mentioned, it was effortless how their body started to run more naturally. And it wasn't like they were fighting this really uphill battle and they just jumped right into it. And I'll tell you, within even the first few weeks, I have people coming back reporting, they lost 8-10 pounds. They got all this energy back. Their sleep is better, more energy, just more focus and attention. It's amazing that if we just align ourselves with the simple truth, again, for our sake, going back to the biblical principles on eating and taking care of our body, we just innately align with it and the results come quick.
Yeah, that's, I think one of the things that really shocked me in the last 2 days is how poorly I was sleeping. One of my guilty pleasures that I share with Nina is we enjoy ice cream almost every night, or did. Since I've substituted that ice cream with carrots, I am sleeping like a rock. I would get up in the middle of the night. I would, thinking that I had to get up and go to the bathroom. No, I'm just like waking up and I'm like, oh, wow, the alarm went off. I didn't wake up in the middle of the night because my body's using natural sugars instead of that sugar spike. It crashes, it wakes me up, and then I go back to sleep.
Yeah.
It's just using natural energy sleep is made to let us repair. It's using that natural energy to get a really sustained repair process going.
And like we talked about last week too, not having all the dairies in our system and the inflammation that creates, it doesn't bog us down as much when we do something more natural.
Yeah.
And I'm right there with you. Like, I love my ice cream. Probably have a little bit too much of it, but I still try to default to more of the alternatives like the coconut milk or almond milk based ice creams. But even this past weekend, I went back to see my family in early Christmas in Michigan, and even just in the 3 days I was there, I had a couple bowls of ice cream, and it was just basic dairy. But the thing is, that's not a part of my regular routine. So going back into that environment again, that's Midwest meat and potatoes, a lot of dairy, not a lot of alternatives that I could find in our little town. But just going back and doing that, like the whole weekend, I just felt like kind of in this haze and just lethargic, and I didn't have energy for life. And it's no joke. As soon as I got back Sunday morning and just got back to my refrigerator and my, healthier options, like you said, the hummus, the carrots, just, the almond milk, the grain-free cereals and everything, and started having that, like, rebounding quickly.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And it was just confirmation to me that, we got to have balance in life, and to have that stuff every now and then won't deter us. But if that's the state that you're constantly stuck in, and that your body is constantly just in that, vicious cycle of having all of these grains and dairies and things that are causing a lot of inflammation in your body, man, it's just setting you down a horrible path, and a path that kind of like you get used to, because for most of us, we've probably been eating that way since we were kids.
Oh, yeah.
So if you've never ventured outside of it, your body doesn't know any different, and your mind doesn't know different. So when we may be talking about like all these different changes our bodies have gone through with these alternatives, but I encourage all of you listening, like, try some of the alternatives, see how your body does. Even just try it for a week. Yeah. And you'll be amazed at the results that your body has.
Well, yeah, that's something that I've noticed too. Is I used to energy bars and things like that for snacks in between. I've switched that up with an apple, a pear, some vegetables, and that sustained energy I have. I don't have that. I'm not starving when I get home from work. Yeah. And then just eating a ton of food for dinner, and then going through this cycle of poor sleep because of poor digestion, and what we fall victim to, I fall victim to, is these convenience foods, and
quick and easy.
Yeah. And look at the labels on those convenience foods. It's a lot of sugar, and we get to that craving of that sugar, and really we're not craving nourishment. We're craving that sugar, that cycle of that dopamine being released, that instant gratification, and our body is being wreaked havoc with by that, ease of convenience.
Yeah. Now, I want to throw something out there to many of you that may be listening, and even just hearing like some of the foods we're throwing out that is, part of our nutritional regimen, the fruits, the veggies, things like that. Obviously, when I can imagine being in, I was in those same shoes 10 years ago before I really started focusing and caring about what I put in my body. And if someone were to talk to me about, you got to have more fruits and veggies, have a banana every morning or an avocado or something like that, I would look at them kind of like they had one eye and think, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm doing that. That doesn't sound very good at all. Because at that time of my life, my body wasn't craving those things. Yeah. It wasn't conditioned to crave the healthy foods. So I want to talk about habits for a moment, because again, we'll talk about this on the coming episodes, but want to obviously point out that the first of the year is coming, and of course people are going to be setting New Year's resolutions and wanting to get back in shape and get their body back on track. And one thing that we got to look at is, like, with a habit, which many of us are stuck in, how long does it take to recondition a habit in the body? Right around 28 days, right? Yeah. So it takes about 28 days to reform and basically reprogram your mind with these new habits. So even talking nutrition, you got to give your body some time, right?
Yeah.
And again, Doc, how long is the Maker's Diet?
It is 40 days.
40 days. So no surprise there that it's longer than 28, because not only 40 days referencing the Bible and 40 days in the desert, because kind of going through it, you kind of feel like you're in a desert at times, like you're lost. Not lost in the sense of you don't know what to eat, but just like your body's kind of going through some weird changes and you're like, oh, I don't really know what's going on. There we go.
There you
go. But the thing is like 40 days, because, it takes that long, if not, a little bit less than that, to reform these habits. So if we want to be on a good, healthy diet where we just innately go to and gravitate to these healthier foods, we got to give it at least 28 days.
Yeah, it's about putting in the mindset of our body is craving food in order to live. So we're going to eat to live. What does our body need in order to function at its highest level? So just thinking about it that way, rather than as a reward or a pleasure of eating, it's actually about living your, getting that energy so that you can do things that are more productive, better energy, better use of living your life.
Yeah. So again, a lot of questions may be coming up on this, like how do I get started? Where do I go? What are resources and outlets? First thing is us.
Yeah.
At Radix Chiropractic, we, like I said, every year we begin this transformation journey that we take people on that want to come alongside us. It's completely open to the public, so you don't have to be a patient. You can just come attend the workshops, go right alongside with us, and also, just be in this journey with everyone. And we'll give more details on that a little bit later. But reaching out to us, 719-573-1007 at radixchiro.com is our website, or you can find us on Instagram or Facebook at Radix Chiropractic. That's RADIX. And again, we want to help you. We want to come alongside you. And if this is something that is a weakness in your life, that you're like, hey, I've got to get myself back on track, we're your outlet, And the thing is, I don't know many doctors that, know the information that we do aside from chiropractors.
Yeah.
Because the thing is most of our medical community and healthcare community isn't well versed across the board in the different diets and the different nutritional programs and even, the biblical truths about what the body needs. So I'd like to say that, it sets us a little bit apart there.
Yes.
in terms of that knowledge. But, I've been studying this for well over, 2 decades now. And I know that, Doc, you have as well.
Yeah.
So a lot going on with this.
Yeah, I think one of the other things about this diet in particular is that it is, it's really a lot simpler. And you can still eat meats. You can still eat fish. You can eat, it's just certain ones to avoid. We want to keep the body actually getting clean meats. One part of it is, no more bacon, which could be really hard for people.
Yeah.
But when you're actually you're still able to eat really good grass-fed beef and clean chicken and really good, clean, wild-caught fish, and your body still is able to get all that protein.
Yeah.
The one thing that I've found is that when we switch to more of an agricultural society, a lot of the soil started getting depleted. A lot of the crops started being processed in order to produce more. And it was more about production rather than nourishment.
Yeah.
And
quantity over quality.
Quantity over quality. Yeah, exactly. And then that's when iron deficiency started happening. That's when reports of lower energy started showing up, lower bone density started showing up. So getting back to more of that, biblical lifestyle of higher quality food is going to give you a lot more energy, and you're going to feel a lot better.
Yeah, and nutrient density as well comes into the picture when we're talking about quality. Like, how nutrient dense is it? If I were to take a French fry and compare it to, a teaspoon of, or just an avocado, obviously a bowl of French fries versus one avocado, you're going to get 10 times the amount of nutrients out of the avocado. So it's higher nutrient density. Think of it like you're getting more bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Okay. And the thing is, you don't need, when you're starting to eat more nutrient dense foods, you don't need to eat as much. So you're not overeating. Your body's then able to use this higher quality nutrients without feeling bogged down. And you're going to start to lose weight because the higher quality food you eat, the less you eat,
the more efficient
the
your
less
body
calories
is.
you're bringing in too, potentially. So,
Yeah.
with that as well is just kind of looking at, like you mentioned, the Industrial Revolution, and with the crop rotations and, the different ways the soils are, have started to become depleted now of these nutrients, that we have to find different outlets because we can't just necessarily trust if it's farm raised. We have to find particular farms that haven't done the same amount of crop rotation and whose soils are still very nutrient dense, because again, you can grow a lot of crops on nearly dead soil, and you'll still get an output, but that crop isn't going to be of good a quality.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of genetically modified organisms
Yep.
and crops. When I was growing up, we're both from the Midwest here, and used to see the farmer next door used to have, one year it's corn, the next year it's soybeans, doing that crop rotation.
Yep.
Now they're getting a lot more production out of just continually putting that corn in there because of the way that they've modified the corn to allow it to be able to grow in more nutrient depleted soils.
Yeah.
So crop rotation isn't a thing like it used to be.
Yep.
So
coming into that next question of, okay, well, where do I find good quality foods and nutrients? Again, that's part of the program that we go through in the new year. We just call it Radical Transformation, the Radical Transformation Journey, because that's really what it is. We're making a radical shift in how we're eating and taking care of our bodies. And, with that, though, we've got some different resources on the different farms around our communities, where you can do crop shares at, or, go in with other people and buy certain shares so that you can get fresh produce from really good quality, even organic farms in our local communities, around Colorado Springs, even delivered here to town. And there's different pickup dates at different, whether it's church parking lots or at a farmer's market or what have you. But again, that's something that we will go more into detail with, if that's something that interests you to find out where those places are at.
Well, I think one thing we keep saying is that if you eat better, you're going to feel better. And frankly, why is that? Is that our gut has a brain of its own, basically. There's a communication of our gut health is a powerful influence on actual emotional health as well. And that connection is what we call the vagus nerve, from the brain all the way down to the gut.
Yep.
And we were talking about this, how we test that in our office. And I was wondering if you could explain that to people, of how we can actually help you measure your connection of your gut to your brain.
Yeah. So there's 3 specific neurological tests that we do in our practice, 2 of which I would say are more directed towards seeing the efficiency of how well the vagus nerve is, how well that brain to gut connection is being maintained and established. And that's number 1, through a thermal scan that we do of the spine to see how the nerve roots are being potentially impinged that you don't know about, because we can have misalignments in our spine that impinge these nerves and are hindering the proper flow from the brain out to the body, specifically to the gut and that a gut immune system connection. But then also we do a heart rate variability scan, which is a pulse wave profiler. Essentially what it's going to show us is, by testing the integrity of the vagus nerve and the connections between the brain and the gut, how well is your body managing its stressors? How well is your body adapting and healing to life? And also along with that, kind of as going alongside with it, it shows us, hey, how is your body repairing its tissues? Are you going more down the path of chronic illness or abundant health? And also too, is your body, more in that fight or flight state, or more in a resting, digesting state, or have a healthy balance of the two? Again, a lot of details that can be, come about from these different tests that we do. But it's state-of-the-art technology, gives us literally a picture in a window into what's going on in your nerve system and how neurological connections can be interfering with the results you're looking for. Because again, I know a lot of people, and I've talked to, across from a lot of people that have broken down in front of me saying, Doc, I've tried everything. I've tried every diet. I've tried every gizmo and gadget, every snake oil out there. and I can't seem to get over this hump. I can't seem to lose the extra 10, 15, 20 pounds. Or if it's a condition they're going through, they can't seem to get full resolution of it. Missing link is, how is your nervous system running your body?
Exactly.
And for most people, and I know you can speak of this too, when we begin addressing the neurological connections and begin restoring them and rebuilding them, this is when those breakthroughs happen and people overcome those plateaus that they were at and they see breakthrough in their life. Again, why we call it a radical transformation, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's the amazing thing of our body is it's been made to work a certain way for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And we're adding so many new things into our body that it is not designed to handle. 55% of our diet as Americans is new food that our ancestors never never even conceived of occurring. So how is our body able to then try to adapt to that new food? And that's the beauty of this diet, is just getting back to the basics of what our body actually needs and knows how to process.
Yeah. And even when I look at the book and I see the cover of it, I mean, one thing I want to X out of there is the word diet. I just like to think of it as the maker's plan.
Yeah.
You know, God's way of life for us based on his instructions, his direction, and really, you know, the tools that we have out there. And, you know, I know we only got a couple more minutes here, but I want to kind of throw out some other, you know, just things to take away and some different strategies even to put in place starting today or tomorrow morning. And one that comes along with this that we coach people through during our New Year's health transformation is, along with doing the Maker's Diet, we go through and teach on how to do intermittent fasting. And this is key, absolutely key, because what intermittent fasting means is it's a daily fast that we do for our body where we give our organs a break from having to digest food. For most people, they eat beginning at around 6 or 7 in the morning, possibly all the way till about 9 or 10 p.m. at night. So if you think of it, about two-thirds of their day is spent consuming food and organs having to work and digest everything, and only 1/3 is spent allowing their body to rest and digest and break things down. We should be reversing that. It should be a 1 to 3 at least. It should be half and half.
Yeah.
It is the first goal, but eventually we want to get it down to 8 hours, like an 8-hour window of consuming food and a 16-hour window of resting and digesting. So what that looks like in terms of intermittent fasting, this is a daily fast where, for example, I'm just going to throw out some basic numbers here, but let's say you stop eating at 8 p.m. at night. That's the moment you consume your last solid food. You can still have liquids after that point, so you can still get nutrients through like maybe a smoothie or some juices or whatnot, or water. But let's say you stop eating at 8 p.m. and then you wait all the way until the next morning and have your first solid food the next day at noon. Okay? That's your 16-hour window. It's very possible. It seems a little drastic at first, so maybe start from like 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. and then try to add those extra 4 hours in there to get that 2 to 3 ratio. But here's the thing. By giving your body that break and by doing this daily, you're going to recondition your mind and your body to start to only crave food and need food from about noon until 8 p.m. So like, Doc, what would be some things that they could do in the morning? Because obviously you got to eat in the morning, you got to consume food. What are a couple things that they could have?
You know, a great way to start the day is with like you were saying, like a smoothie, but hot water and a squeeze of lemon.
Yep.
You know, get the body back into a good basic framework to utilize any nutrient when it finally starts coming in.
So it's mainly liquids, right?
Yeah.
You got your lemon waters, teas, water itself. I love coffee, so I drink Bulletproof coffee, again, you can look up that name online and get the recipe, but it's essentially grass-fed butter,
good healthy fats.
MCT oil, so it's a good high-fat drink, but it tastes amazing. It's like a latte, but it allows you to have some coffee. Or also drinking like a kombucha or something fermented too. So again, I know we're running out of time for today's show. We'll pick this back up, but these are just some different strategies that you can begin implementing. But look up intermittent fasting. It'll transform your life. It's amazing. So always so thankful that each and every one of you tune in every week and listen to us and our somewhat counter to pop culture approaches to health here.
Paradigm shifting.
No, it's a paradigm shifts too. So thank you so much for tuning into Radix Radio. Again, you can contact us at 719-573-1007. Visit us at radixchiro.com. And again, if you are interested in coming in for a full assessment, we provide that as a special offer for all of our listeners for only $49 for all your neurological testing, consultation, report with us, and your first chiropractic adjustment. So if you're looking to get on a road to better health, give us a call, reach out to us. God bless, and have a great weekend.
You can find out more on today's show by visiting their website, radixchiro.com, or following Radix Chiropractic on Facebook or Instagram. Thanks for listening.